the one, the only Benzion. Welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Iyun with Benzion. Today's daf is Benzion Gittin daf Lamed Vav, number 36. Pretty famous year, for a pretty famous daf. It's going to be a famous year. Pruzbol. Let's talk about the concept of Pruzbol. The concept of Pruzbol basically is that even though Midaraisa, there's a concept that Shemitah not just tells you not to work the land of Eretz Yisrael, also tells you that if you have a loan, right, you're trying to collect a loan from somebody, and Shemitah year passes, the entire Shemitah year passes, and now it's Rosh Hashanah on the 8th year, the year after Shemitah, you can no longer collect a loan, even if it's for $1 million. You can't collect a loan anymore, right? Shmot Baal Masha Yadcha or something like that. Put your hand down. Don't collect it. You can't pressure the guy to give you the money. If he gives it to you, he gives it to you. But you cannot go after the loan anymore. Can't collect that loan anymore. Technically, it's waived by the Torah. Sort of like a bankruptcy court by the Torah. In Chapter 7, bankruptcy. Chapter 7, Shmita. But that's only applied. The Gemara said Hillel subverted it. Hillel circumvented that. It says because people weren't lending money. Oh, I lend out money if I know that he can just declare bankruptcy in this Shemitah year, and he doesn't have to declare bankruptcy. The Torah declares bankruptcy for him, and he doesn't have to pay. He doesn't have to pay his debt. Not going to lend money. So Hillel saw that he was talking about Pruzbol. Somewhere says how is he talking about Pruzbol? Midaraisa, you can't collect. He doesn't have to have the Rabbanan to go ahead and say you can collect. So the Gemara explains that really nowadays Shemitah's Ksafim is really not Doraisa. I mean, Doraisa you could collect nowadays because there's a hekesh between Shemitah's Karka and Shemitah's Ksafim. Shemitah of the land is only the Rabbanan, Shemitah of the Ksafim is only the Rabbanan also. So then the Gemara, until he went and subverted that. So the Gemara says, wait a second, according to the Torah, Midoraisa, there's no Shemitah's Ksafim nowadays after the Chorban Abayas. When the Bayis basically is not around, even in the end of Bayashani didn't apply also. So how could it be that Rabbanan made a takana? First they made a takana before Hillel came along. They made a takana and they said that even though Midaraisa there's no Shemitah, Midrabanan there is Shemitah. Shemitah's Ksafim. Midrabanan you can't collect a loan. And that's why Hillel had to go around and circumvent that and say if you give a document, you make a written document, a principle, then you could collect the loan. How could it be? The Gemara says, Mika immediately in the Raisa lo misham to Shvius. Shemitah does not cancel the loan. The Takin Rabbanan does Shami. Before Hillel came, they made a Takan Rabbanan and that Shemitah should work. Midaraisa, I don't have to pay. Midaraisa, I can collect my loan. How could the Rabbanan say don't collect your loan? So Abaye says Shev al Tasahu. Midaraisa, certain times the Rabbanan have the ability to circumvent laws of the Torah. How do they have the power to do it? But Shev al Tasa, like for the famous example. We don't practice the mitzvah of lulav if the first day of lulav falls on a Shabbos, right? Any day of Sukkah, first day of any day of Sukkot falls on a Shabbos. There's no mitzvah of Daled Minim on Shabbos. Why not? Because even though Midaraisa, the first day, there is a mitzvah of them taking a lulav in the Gvulin outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Nonetheless, they circumvented that because people might carry Daled Sharam to go learn how to shake the lulav. So they said, Shev al Tasa, they have the power to do that. Don't do a mitzvah. They have the power to do an Aveira, tell you to do an Aveira. Kumbas, that's worse. Shev al Tasa, they could tell you to do. Here also, Shev al Tasa, the creditors, stay at home, don't go collect. They have the ability to do that. Rav, this is a different reason. Based in Haya Hefker, it's a famous concept. The Gemara derives two sources where we know that from. That based in, at least a Jewish court, has the ability, under the Jewish families that subscribe to the Based in, and certain times when Jewish communities were entirely run by the Batei Dinim system in Klal Yisrael, they have the ability to take money from someone's bank account and put it in someone else's bank account if they deem fit. And that's how it works over here, right? Basically, they took the money over here, right? This creditor, Midrabanan, right, he could collect. And they said, you can't collect, right? So what does that do with Hefker based on Hefker exactly? And Arava and Abaye really arguing. I'd like to say they're not arguing Abaye and Arava. They're talking about two different types of loans. If you look at the end of Maseches Bava Basra, there's a big discussion over there about milval pat and milval b'shtar, right? There's two different ways of giving out a loan. Either you give out a loan without a written document, and you can usually have two eidim that see you giving the loan, so you can If the person doesn't want to pay you back, you bring the witnesses to court and he'll pay you based on the witnesses. And the other way is to write a shtar, to write a loan document, which most people will probably do, and have Adam sign on the shtar. And that way you use a shtar to collect the money. Now, I believe Abayi is talking about a case of Milval Pet. But Milval Pet, right, all I have is witnesses who saw the loan. There's no actual written documentation of the loan. I have no control over this person's property, the debtor's property. I have no control over the debtor's property. There's definitely not, with the question, Shibuda do Raisa or Shibuda Lav do Raisa, but technically you really don't have control. I believe we passed Shibuda Lav do, right? You don't have control of the person's property on Milval Pet. So basically, all the assets of the debtor are still in his possession. The creditor has no lien or has no rights to the possessions. He has the Adam that can prove that he's able to be Motzi Mamo, and then the Adam are helping be Motzi Mamo and take it out of his possession. So therefore, the money is considered in the debtor's property. The creditor has to take it out. So therefore, according to Abayi, it says, Sheval Tasa, sit back and don't go ahead and bring your witnesses to court and take the money out of the debtor's jurisdiction. Rava was talking about a milah b'shtar. Let's say you have a milah b'shtar. So the Gemara in Masechtas Ksuvos already says that according to the Lashon of the Ksuva, the Gemara does say it's according to Beis Shammai, shtar omid legabos gaboy dami. If I have a shtar, it's already in my possession. He's the, right? It's my money already. He owed me $1,000. That $1,000 of his assets are already in I'm the muhsa. The burden of proof is upon him to take it out of me, take it out from me. So therefore, Rava relies on the halakha of hefker based in haya hefker, that midarabanan, the rabbis took out the possession, because really, if I have he owes me $1,000, I have $1,000 of his real estate in my backyard. It's already mine because I have a shtar signed with witnesses, right? And I believe, even though Beis Shammai says shtar gabos gaboy dami, Beis Hillel seems to argue on it. Even though the Gemara's Beis Shammai is like the lashon of the Ksuva, I believe Beis Hillel would agree if there's achrayus written in there, meaning there's a lien, right? The Gemara in Pesach Baba Metzia says the achrayus tells sofer. If you don't write achrayus, like you wrote the achrayus, but there is one nafkamina. If you write the achrayus, then you become the mochsak, because you have a lien on his real estate. When you have a lien on his real estate, so the shtar is basically representative of his real estate. The fact that I'm holding a piece of a document which says he owes me money is like I'm holding that shtar is my muchzakos. It's like I'm holding on to his real estate. That's an actual lien. It's my property. So therefore, Rava, for those milah b'shtar where there was achrayus written in there, therefore Rava to come up with the idea that really it's already his assets are already in my possession. So therefore, hefker based on haya hefker, the Rabbanan instituted, no, we take it out of your possession, the creditor, you put it back in the debtor's possession, and therefore you can't collect. And that's why Hillel had to circumvent that and write a document that I could collect it, even though Shemitah passed. I hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.